Hey everybody, today I want to talk about editing voiceovers and music in Premiere Pro. There are a lot of similarities between editing audio and video tracks, but there are also a few new tools to learn about when it comes to audio. So let's jump right into it. I'm in Premiere and I have an admissions video project that I'm working on that has a voiceover and a lot of footage that I want to overlay. So I'll play through it real quick. It's pretty short. I just want to show you what the final product is going to look like. When you think of Bolus, what comes to mind? Our well-rounded student body, top-notch teachers, a picturesque campus and state-of-the-art learning spaces? Maybe it's our burgeoning STEM program, or our talented artists, all the way from K to 12. Is it our leading entrepreneurship curriculum, National History Day, championship teams, or maybe it's the mark you'll leave on our community? Whatever it is, Bolus has something for you, and we can't wait to see, hear, feel what we can do together. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I put together the voiceover and the music. First thing I need to do is create a new sequence. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to find a piece of footage that was recorded at 23.976 frames per second and has a resolution of 3840 by 2160. You can also see that by hovering over your clip name. So I'm going to right click on this clip here and choose New Sequence from Clip. And then it's going to be called C001, and it will be right alongside the clip that we started the sequence with. Now, I don't want to keep it there because I'll never be able to find it in the future because I won't remember which clip I started my sequence with. So I'm going to click on it to change the name and call it Cut 1, and then I'm just going to call it Demo since I already actually have a Cut 1. And then I will pull it into my Sequences folder just to keep everything nice and organized. Now, I don't need this clip in here anymore, so I'm going to delete it, and then I will start working on my voiceover. One thing before I start doing that, my voiceover I recorded on an audio-only device, so there's no picture with it. Yours will have a picture with it because you recorded on a camera. So when I click on a video clip, usually this will come up. You'll see your video footage. You won't see the audio waveform. In order to see the audio waveform, which is really helpful for editing a voiceover, you can click on this waveform button here, and then this is actually the same button that you can click and drag on to pull audio only into your timeline, which is a really useful feature when you don't want the video to come with it. You can do the same thing with your video footage. You can drag video only if you don't want the audio to come with it. So I'm going to go find my voiceover now. The reason why the waveform is useful for editing a voiceover is you can see that these places where the audio level is very low, that means that I was either pausing or I was in between phrases, so I can really easily navigate between different phrases and sentences in my voiceover. So I'm going to find the beginning of one, press I on the keyboard to set an endpoint, and then I'll play through. When you think of Bolus, what comes to mind? Our well-rounded student body? Top-notch teachers? And then I'll press O on the keyboard to set my out point, and then I'll pull in my audio into my sequence. And now what I can do is I can keep pulling out phrase by phrase just by setting an endpoint, a picturesque campus and state-of-the-art learning spaces. Out point, pull my clip down, find the next one. Maybe it's our burgeoning STEM program, or our talented artists all the way from K to 12. But I was actually able to record this with a little bit more fluidity than that, and I like the natural pauses that I have in here, so I'm actually just going to pull down this voiceover in as many big sections as I can, and I won't make you watch that. I'll get the voiceover in shape, and then we'll come back and look at the next steps. So the next thing I want to do is I want to elevate this video a little bit and bring in some mood, some tone, and I'm going to do that with music. So I have a piece of music picked out for this video, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it into my timeline, and you can immediately see that it is way too long for my voiceover. Now, a couple of things. One, I'm not going to start the voiceover right at the beginning of the video because I want to let the music build just a little bit before I start that voiceover. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a place where I want the voiceover to start. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and mute my voiceover track just so I hear the music. And I think right about there might be a good place to bring in my voiceover. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to select all of my voiceover and then just snap it to that playhead. And then I'll unmute it and let's listen again. When you think of bolus, what comes to mind? Now, obviously, the music is way too loud, so I'm going to change that by clicking on my music track, hitting G on the keyboard, and this brings up my audio gain control. And this is just a way that I can change the volume or the level of the audio in this particular clip. So, two options here. I can either set my gain to a certain number and say -12, or I can adjust my gain by a certain number, and if I type in -12 here, it's going to change it to -24 decibels overall because it was already at -12, and now we have said adjust it by another -12 decibels. So I'm actually going to delete that. I think that -12 should work fine. So I'm going to click OK, and then let's listen again. Picturesque campus and state-of-the-art learning spaces. Maybe it needs to be a little bit quieter, so I'm going to hit G again and say another -2, and now I'm just adjusting gain by, and it changes my overall level to -14 decibels. Hit OK. Maybe it's our burgeoning STEM program. So that sounds better, but I still want to bring a little bit more punch to my voice, and I want it to stand out a little bit more above my music. So to do that, I'm going to go into my audio track mixer. And if you don't see it here in the upper left-hand panel of your Premiere interface, you can go to Window and then find Audio Track Mixer. And what you have here is a series of racks, either called racks. You can put different audio effects in each of these different slots. And each of these racks corresponds to a different audio channel. So we have audio channel 1, audio channel 2, 3, etc. So my voiceover is in audio channel 1. So that's the rack that we're going to use. And I'm just going to choose one of these drop-down menus and say amplitude and compression and multi-band compressor. Then I will double click on that to bring it up. And a lot of times when you open this, it's going to look like this, which is really unhelpful. I don't know why it defaults to opening this way. So if you pull on the right edge of it to pull it outward so you can see everything, and then pull down as well, then we can see the entire interface. Now the only thing we need to do here is change the margin to -1. And all this is going to do is ensure that the level of our voiceover never reaches past -1 decibels. 0 decibels would be the highest volume possible, but because we have music in there, when the two combine, we want to leave just a little bit of headroom above the voiceover so that we don't get any clipping in our audio. And I'll actually turn this on and off so we can hear the difference. Day, championship teams, or maybe it's the mark you'll leave on our community. So off. Whatever it is on, Bolus has something for you, and we can't wait to see. So you can see that's making a pretty big difference. That's bringing my voice out above that music, and it's really adding a little bit of punch to it. Next thing we need to do is take care of the length of this music. I think that I would like for the video to be somewhere around 46 seconds long. So there's a really easy way that we can do that. I'm going to right-click on my music track, say Edit Clip in Adobe Audition, and Premiere is really quickly going to send it over to another program in the Adobe suite, which is Adobe Audition. And when it opens up, you'll see an interface that looks like this. We actually need to change this interface by going to File and New Multi-Track Session. And my song is called Girl Power, so I'm going to call this Girl Power 46 seconds because that's the target length of my audio. And I'll hit OK. And then into track 1 up here, I'm just going to pull my audio clip, which is the one that has a little waveform symbol next to it. And I'm going to pull it into this track 1. Then I'll hit OK. Zoom out a little bit. I can see that the song is just over 1 minute long, and I want it to be about 46 seconds long. So I'm going to go over here in my Essential Sound panel. I'm going to hit Music, and I'm going to uncheck Loudness because I don't want to change that. And I'm going to check duration. Now, Audition has 2 ways that it can change the length of a song. You can stretch it, and so if I made my target length 2 minutes long, it would just slow down the music so that it was twice as long. Now, if I told Audition to make this track 46 seconds long by stretching it, it would just make it faster, and I don't want that. I want to keep the same tempo in the music. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Target. I'm going to type in 00:46, and then I'll click Remix. And Audition is going to analyze the clip now. And what it's going to try to do is find natural places to cut out measures of the music so that you can't tell that there have been any cuts. And so what we're left with here is this little jagged line, and that tells us where Audition made the cut, where it cut out part of the audio. So what I always like to do is go just before that and press play and listen through and make sure that it sounds seamless. That actually doesn't sound very good to me. I can tell there's a cut there. So I'm going to try something else. You can see now that this made it about 50 seconds long. Audition is never going to be able to do it exactly. It's going to try to find the most logical places to cut out the audio, and so you might be left with something that's slightly longer or shorter than you want. So I'm going to try to put in a shorter time. I'm going to say 45 seconds and see what happens. Okay, so now we have different cuts here. This might change things. Okay, that sounds seamless. I can't tell that there's a cut there, so that's good. And again, that one is good too. So I'm going to go ahead and say File, Export, Export to Adobe Premiere Pro to send it right back. And I want to put this into my music folder. So I already have that set by default. Admissions Fall 2018 Music. I'm going to say OK, and I will make sure that Open in Adobe Premiere Pro is checked, and then click Export. Back in Premiere, it's going to give me the option to copy this song to an active sequence. I do want to do that. I want to choose a new audio track, and I'll say OK. So now what I have down here, I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. I have my new song and my old song. Don't need the old song anymore. I'm just going to pull the new one up into audio track 2, and we can see now that it is about 46 seconds long, which is perfect. And I want to listen to the end of it to make sure that it fades down in the way that I want, and the video ends with a nice finished feeling. Hear, feel what we can do together. That works for me, so I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now I've got all of my audio in line except for any sound effects that I might use later on. One thing that I like to do before I start putting in footage is just mark the places where I'm going to put each clip. So I have my 2-column script, and I know what clip goes with which part of the voiceover, and now I just want to visually be able to see that in my sequence. So if I play through, when you think of bolus, what comes to mind? So that part of the voiceover I think I want to illustrate with some students walking through campus. So I'm going to make sure that nothing is selected in my timeline, no clips are selected, and I'm going to hit M, and it will create a marker up here at the top of the timeline. If I click on this, I can write a name for it. I'll say students walking through campus. I could change the color if I wanted to, and then I can click OK. Now when I hover over this marker, I can see that students walking through campus notation, and I know exactly what to put in there. I can go find it in my footage folder and drag it in. When you think of bolus, what comes to mind? Our well-rounded student body? Maybe a shot during assembly or the pep rally could work really well here. So I'm going to hit M on the keyboard again, make another marker, write pep rally, click OK. Our well-rounded student body. And I'll just go through the entire script and I'll put in those markers because that makes my editing process much more efficient. Okay, so there you have it. You should be able to edit your voiceover and start putting footage into your project. Thanks for watching, and as always, let me know if you have any questions, and I can't wait to see what you all create.